Hey guys, that's your Comanche today and Watcher of Realms. Welcome to the video, guys. I'm glad to have you here today. Send some love, some positive vibes your way, some holiday spirit your way as well. Are you a holiday spirit individual? Are you a Grinch? Are you a Scrooge, a Grinch? Do you not care at all? Get that holiday cheer out of here. I've said this before, but I think that since I had a kiddo kind of grow up, I went from a Grinch to what's the opposite? An elf? I'm an elf, guys. Anyway, welcome to the video. We have a tall task ahead of us today, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna go ahead and rank the top 25 heroes in the game. Just to have a nice variety here in terms of heroes, we're gonna divide it, the top 5 in every class in the game. So let me know ahead of time here. I'm gonna say this at the beginning of the video instead of the end when I usually say this. If I snub your favorite hero, a hero that you're really digging, helping you progress on your account, let me know about it in the comments below. Especially tell me who you take off the list, because it's easy to give recommendations. Tell me which of these class you replace with whoever you love, okay? And maybe, who knows, maybe I'll use some of your comments in my next video spotlighting some of those heroes.
My time has come to return to you, so we can be together again.
So probably the most controversial decision I'll make inside the entire video might be on my fighter list. I'm including Wrath. And it's not so much that I'm including Wrath, it's more of who I'm excluding in order for Wrath to be on the list, because fighters are one of the most stacked classes in the game. By far. I'm actually snubbing some of my favorite heroes. Anyway, Wrath, it has to be on the list, man. Anywhere you need a ground DPS Lord, by the way, a ground DPS Lord who does insane amounts of damage, and at the same time, my man can tank, because if you're lucky enough, and eventually I hope you all are, to have him fully awakened, he can heal himself as well. It's funny, you know, I have a lot of you can see the fighters that I have here. I have a lot of good fighters on my account. I still use Wrath more than almost everybody else. That says something, so he had to be there. Number 2 is gonna be Zillatu. So Zillatu, man, I mean, she's, I guess, power ranking probably number 1 on the list, right? I mean, she's the infernal fighter who's the guild boss queen, right? I'm still working on it, but I'm getting there, by the way. I'm very close to 2 King Nightmare 4 now. I've come a long way. Your boy's getting there, guys. Slowly but surely. Anyway, Zillatu's amazing. You put her with a Pyros, a Twin Fiend if you're lucky enough to have him, and you're looking at some insane burst damage for the destructive spit or whatever, the shield of the guild boss. Moreover, she's great everywhere, right? She has burning, which does magic damage per second as well, but really she has this ability where she stops attacking, charges energy after 3 seconds of not dealing damage, increases damage by 5% per second up to 25%. The charge energy will be consumed in 1 second, and the damage increase will end. When triggered, deals 300% extra damage in a larger range for 25 seconds. She's just an absolute monster, especially with an Infernal Lord, but even on her own in all types of content, she's just a really, really great fighter. All right, next up, guys, is going to be Arrogance. Arrogance is a monster, a beast, also a burner. Arrogance can target air and he can target ground, so he's great. He has that range where he can hit the sides, he can hit in front of him as well. Great anti-air fighter, great anti-ground fighter. Like I said, he has burning, he has great damage. He's not the best damage fighter in the game, but his versatility is really second to none in terms of a fighter, at least. Very, very good. And when I say he doesn't have the best damage in the game, I'm really spitting, but yeah, Arrogance is really freaking good, man. The more you invest in him, you can say this about any hero, right? The more you invest in him, the more he gives back. You get him fully promoted, great. You put a good artifact on him, great. The burning artifact or whatever, fantastic. You start investing in those skill ups, which again is the case for a lot of legendaries, he turns into a real monster, okay? Next up is gonna be one that I don't have, but I wish I did. It's Salazar. Salazar just absolutely decimates me in the arena, and I hate him for it, but it's not just arena, man. I mean, look at the ratings on this dude. He's good anywhere you need a fighter. You'll love Salazar. Guild boss, look no further. My man's got bleed. It's gonna deal 1% of target's max HP per second on his basic, this dude, right? He also has bleed, or a guaranteed crit hits, excuse me, inflicted with bleed on his ultimate smashing blitz. Burst damage is an understatement on this dude. Again, I don't have him, but I've seen enough of him to know, right? We're talking insane amounts of concentrated, I guess that's what burst damage is, concentrated damage over a short short period of time. Perfect for guild boss, perfect for arena, perfect for just being an amazing S tier boss killer in this game. I think the biggest snub of the video could be Abomination. Insane base stats and a very, very, very good fighter. If you know me, you know I'm gonna give it to Ardia. Ardia has the highest base stats in the game when it comes to her base attack, right? Max level base attack, almost 8,000. That's like 1,500 over the second best in the entire game. She's a monster, a monster. I did a whole video on her. You guys can go ahead, check it out if you want to. She damages herself. She doesn't kill herself, but she damages herself, right? She is chaotic after all. But boy, in terms of sheer damage output, you can see a nice, that same range as like a Valkyra. And that's another one that I snubbed here, by the way. There's so many good fighters in this game, guys. Valkyra, really good too, but same range, just an insane amount of damage. I mean, what are fighters for, right? Basically, they're for damage. So yeah, I'm putting Ardia. I mean, she's really made a massive impact on my account. Really, the only fighter on my account who can stand toe-to-toe with my highest DPS, Marksman. Really, really good. Anyway, those are my top five fighters. A lot of snubs there. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. All right, let's go to defenders, guys. Baron, easy, right? Baron. What are we looking for from defenders in this game? Well, staying alive, tanking, and maybe adding some else to the table as well is always a good thing.
Thanks, son. Don't mind if I do.
I mean, he's got this nice beefy shield. Cast a shield that can absorb damage equal to 70% of max HP for 10 seconds. When the shield disappears or it gets broken, deals AoE damage, which is nice as well. But then he has Unyielding. Will not die from taking damage for 4 seconds, but you can get that up to 8 seconds. And Unyielding in this game is extremely powerful. Just a really, really, really good tank. Between the big shield and the Unyielding, he's a fairly easy dude to keep alive. And again, that Unyielding, it's great for anywhere from Gear Raid 2 or the roly-polies and Guild Boss and you name it. Toreador. Toreador is one of the best lords in the game because Nightmare is so powerful. Now, the downside to that is everybody gets Wrath anyway for free, so he's not as essential a lord in that extent, but he does have a great power-up in addition to Wrath, right? He has basic attributes. Every time a hero is deployed, the attack speed goes up, and then if faction ally's basic attack has a 30% chance of landing an extra hit. That's a really, really cool addition to the Wrath Nightmare ultimate, so very good. But then in addition to all of that, he's a pretty dang good tank. He can deal some good damage as well, and he has this revival ability. And again, when we talk about tanks, we talk about defenders, we want to keep everybody else alive. We want to keep them alive first and foremost, right? And even though he doesn't have that built-in like crazy shield mechanic or Unyielding like some of the other heroes we're going to talk about, he does have a revival of himself, right? So he dies, he revives again on his first deployment of the battle. So that helps keep him alive. He's a good defender, a good DPS. He does cost a lot at 25, but you can definitely argue he is worth that cost for his Lord skill alone, but then he's a pretty robust defender on top of all of that. He was actually one of my first, maybe my second, I would say, legendary on my account. So I played him almost, probably more than mostly anybody else. King Hars is one of my more recent legendaries, and boy, he really exceeded my expectations, guys. He really did. I mean, he has an insanely good Lord skill, right? Northerners, some people say they're not that strong. I actually think they're pretty damn strong. Personally, at least I get a lot of utility out of my Northerners. But he has all the stuff that you'd expect, but I just love the fact that he's periodically granting all faction allies a shield equal to 30% of their max HP, but all other allies get a shield too. It's 15%, but it's for 20 seconds. So we're just casting those shields, left and right. You love it. The defense of shielded faction allies is increased by 20. You don't even have to play him to get this effect, right? He's a very formidable tank in his own right. He has freeze as well. He has AoE damage and freeze on his ultimate. He's a good, robust defender, and he's got that awesome Lord skill with some control on top of all of that. I'm using him more than I thought I would. Next up is Brokir. Brokir, again, kind of like King Hars, only turned up a notch, minus the Lord skill. Turned up a notch, meaning that he has even better freeze synergy, gains freeze and a shield equal to 80% of max HP. The effect of the freeze effect will disappear with the shield on his ultimate. He has reduces adjacent allies damage taken by 10%, so he has some damage mitigation on allies. Fantastic. If he's inflicted with freeze, the damage or the roost damage is increased to 30%. Okay. Damage received, it's all freeze. It's all freeze synergy. I'm not going to read every kit because we'd be here all day. A reasonable cost as well. A nice defender, and the most important thing is when receiving fatal damage for the first time, he gains freeze, which is giving that reduction, that mitigating damage too, right? He gains freeze and becomes immune to all damage for 8 seconds, essentially unkillable or unyielding for 8 seconds. So you guys know, you can tell between Baron and him now, I love that element of a champion's or a hero, excuse me, his kit, right? I love when they're unkillable. Last but not least, of course, I'm not going to forget my favorite defender in the game. Some people, again, I mentioned this in the last video, some guys had opinions on it in the comments. He's my favorite, and I don't think he's cheesy at all. Some people give him a bad rap for being a cheesy, kind of easy, I guess, easy, synonymous. Olog, man, we get him, what do we get him, Void Rift? Is it a certain level, just Void Rift? Either way, he's still my go-to in a lot of situations. Not all, but a lot of situations, because he's just got the best and beefiest shield known to man. It's his auto. Every 12 seconds, cast a shield that can absorb damage equal to 50%, but we can get it all the way up to 85%. Quick math there, Ash, of max HP, right? I mean, he's fairly cheap for a defender as well. Olog rounds out our roster here. Azor, I had a whole video. I mean, we've had a long conversation here throughout all the videos, all the summonings. I've actually summoned 7 Azors, and my next most is 3 on a legendary, on Apsan, right? Yeah, so Azor and me, we go back a long way, man. We're like this, me and Azor. I like him. I like him. I like him. I don't love him, but I actually do like him. I was a little bit underwhelmed by Constance. I hate to say it. I was really excited for her to have inspiration on a defender. But then I learned something after trying to use her everywhere in the game. Outside of, you know, she's good in some areas. And if you don't have a defender or a lot of defenders on your account, she's great. But having an inspiration defender isn't as good as I thought it was going to be, honestly. And maybe you guys could, if you're having success with her, let me know. She's bad. You know, we're here to talk about the best. And, you know, she's cool, but I had high expectations. I still use Dolores, you know, just give me Dolores. I don't need a defender inspiration, because then you have to jack up her attack. And anyway, I digress. We can make a whole video talking about her. Let's move on to Marksman, guys. We don't have to go far. Hatsu. I think that Hatsu is, I don't know, a top 5 hero in the entire game. 12 cost, invisibility, which makes her just insanely good for Gear Raid 3 on that right kind of pedestal. But even in areas beyond that, you know, all over campaign, all over Void Rift, having invisibility for 20 seconds when deployed, and you can obviously skill that up, is very good. Ultimate is insanely good. It doesn't read. I found this on some heroes, right? You know, damage up to 5 enemies, dealing 100% AoE damage every 0.3 seconds. I think that's where you lose it, right? The 0.3 seconds for 3 seconds is a lot, right? Is a lot of AoE damage. It happens fast, it's burst, but boy, is it good. And it goes behind her too. It's like it's an interesting ultimate kind of pattern for configuration, which can come in handy. Just insane damage though, right? At the end of the day, it's a lot of damage. So absolutely on the list. Probably my most wanted hero in the game is still Silas. Silas is unbelievable. The highest single target damage inside the entire game. What a marksman. You go again, you know what? Silas is so strong in terms of single target damage. And I don't want to say he's just defined as an arena hero at all. He's way beyond that. You can use him. I mean, look at the reviews here, right? Faction, arena, guild boss, gear raids, you know, just really, really good damage. Anywhere you need someone to just absolutely decimate an enemy. He has the soul sniping ability. I have the most firsthand experience with him in the arena. And at this point, I don't know if you're in the same boat as me, anybody out there, but I just avoid Silas teams, because I know he's just gonna absolutely wreck me, you know? So anyway, Silas is absolutely amazing piercer. I love him. All right, next is gonna be Setram. Ooh, 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 ooh. I love me some Setram.
I love you.
Setrum grew on me a lot. I mean, he was always good, and I always used him, don't get me wrong, but I've just been investing, similar to our conversation earlier, I've been investing a lot in this guy. It pays such dividends. I've also kind of rebuilt him a little bit. You ever do that experiment with a hero in this game? I took away a bunch of attack speed on Setrum, and I prioritized just going all-out crit damage along with attack. And to the surprise of nobody, it's pretty obvious, but sometimes, if you're anything like me, you just make some, you know, when you don't have great gear, especially starting out in this game, he was one of my first legendaries, you just kind of you do your best, right? You do your best. So anyway, I digress. He's like, has this fortress stance. This ultimate is bonkers, man. It's just like, absolutely strap him on. What do they say? He's a walking armada of destruction, and that is absolutely correct. Plus, he has this big, massive, insane range. I love him. He's one of my favorite heroes inside the entire game. All right, so now things get really tough, guys. Marksman is another one of those categories that is incredibly challenging. I have to include Hex. I think that Hex is a nasty Joker, or Hex. I'm not trying to call anybody out here or cause any friction, but did they just flat out put the Joker in here and just call him Hex? I'm sure there's more to this story. It's like, I wonder if there was gonna be a big DC collab, and they're like, scrap the collab, but just call him Hex instead. I don't know. Either way, he's super cool. He's got a lot of personality. I don't think any hero or champion in any of these games has more personality than Hex. He's all about these cards of fate that do different things. And I mean, if you can get him to A1, you get the Fool. The Fool deals 500% damage 3 times and inflicts 75% slow and burning for 5 seconds. I don't like to talk about awakenings on legendaries because they're so hard to get a legendary to begin with, but my man just really gets better and better. Just even if you don't have him awakened, though, he does magic damage. He's quite unique in that regard. He's a 12 cost. He does a lot of control, a lot of damage, right? Really love Hex. I actually started like really getting into the game during the Hex when he was released to the game. Now here's where we run into problems, because we only have 1 spot left, and I can't see how anybody can argue against Hatsuit and Hex and Setrum and Silas, right? So then we've got like 2 of my favorite epics in the entire game, in Idril and Maul. But there's something about Razak. It should be a movie. Something about Razak, something about that dreamy face of yours. But I have to give it to Idril. I have to give it to Idril, man. Idril's just too unique. She's too unique with that limitless shots, you know? And she's much easier compared to legendaries, obviously, to get Awakened 5. And then she has like the enhanced limitless shot where it's really limitless. It extends by 3 seconds for every kill. Great against squishier units, great in the arena, but really great everywhere because she can kill and shoot anybody on the map. It's a shame because I love Maul and Razak, but you know, it is what it is. If we were gonna do a true top 25 heroes in the game, Maul and Razak would be on it. Let's put it that way. Probably over a couple of the healers we're going to talk about. All right, guys. Oh, speaking of healers, Elowen. Elowen would be a top 5 probably hero in the game, in my opinion. She's got attack-based healing, which we'd really rather have HP-based healing, but I'm being nitpicky on one of the best supports in the game. She got 3 healing, decent heal multiplier as well. She's a capable healer. She dispels all debuffs from all allies in range and restores their HP on her ultimate. She also summons the little wood elf for a 5 cost that he can go in there and heal in different areas of the map. So it's really a great ability, this little wood elf, because he can heal areas where she can't cover. Her range isn't insane compared to some other heroes that we're going to mention, so that does help quite a bit. But then it all comes together with the rage restoration on the Nature's Favor. Restores rage every 5 seconds for all allies, equal to 1% of their rage cap, and of course it can be skilled up as well. She's probably the most sought after healer in the game. Next up is Leia. Leia, I would say, is maybe the second most sought after after healer in the game. She's a lord. So Leia is a watcher lord. She's got the faction allies basic attributes, periodically increases damage and healing multipliers by 30% for 20 seconds. The more faction allies are on the team, the more frequently it takes effect. Whenever a faction ally is healed, their damage will be increased by 15% for 10 seconds. What a blessing. What a lord blessing this is, you know? Blessing of the light, literally. It's such a good ability, man. That is a really big one. Every 3 basic attacks increase the next basic attack's healing by 50%. She has attack-based healing to 3 allies in range, same as Elowen on the there. And then she has restores 10% rage. She's also restoring rage to all allies in range immediately. Afterward, restores 1% rage on them every 2 seconds, lasting for 10 seconds. This effect doesn't affect the hero's or this hero's rage. Really, really cool. She's got damage increase. I love that she has a super robust kit in terms of everything: rage, buffs, damage increases. She does a little bit of everything with the Great Lord ability on top of it all. I mean, what more do you want in a support in this game, right? All right, next up, guys, is going to be Dolores. I mean, there's not much to say about Dolores. She costs 5. You gotta love that. She's got that nice AoE range or whatever, you know. She's got some small heals. I've said this before. Everybody says the same thing. If you look at any video on YouTube on Dolores, it's always, yeah, you can't really trust her to be a healer. And I understand she's not someone capable of healing your entire team or healing your main tank or defender, but she's got great heals to just top off and help like in areas where you're not going to cover with your main healer, right? But it's really all about inspiration, which is boosting everybody in her ranges attack based on her attack. It's one of the most powerful buffs. It's the most powerful buff in the game. And there's only a couple heroes that have it. Only one that does it as well as Dolores, and that's Dolores. So there you go. She's definitely the most used epic in the game. In the end game, certainly. Okay, Vortex. He's up there too with the most used epics in the game. He really is. He's still. I have Elowen. I'm not saying he's better than Elowen, but in terms of raw support, like forget the rage, which obviously you can't say, but I'm gonna say it. He's my favorite healer in the game. Man, he's got HP-based healing, so it's easy to make him super tanky. He's got great shields, and he's got a ton of heals. What more do you want? Okay, what more do you want? How about an amazing range? My man covers like half the map, man. He's insane. If you are watching right now and you've pulled or summoned a Vortex and you have not invested in him, invest. You'll use him forever or until he gets power crept in 5 years. Either way, invest. All right, the last healer we're gonna talk about, guys, shout out to Sadie. I love Sadie, especially in Gear Raid 2, where she's absolutely insanely good. I really do like her quite a bit. I love Ezrin as well, but you know who I really, really love? I love Hollow. It's weird because, again, she's more of a rage booster or rage regen than a healer, but that's kind of like, she's a better healer than Dolores, let's put it that way. She's very capable of healing on one of the sides in Gear Raid 1, for example, right? She can cover one of your sides, provided that she has enough. She's an attack-based healer, which kind of sucks, but she can, at least for me, you get a little bit, 1 attack percentage, a little bit of healing multiplier. She can cover that, but that rage regen is where it's at. Energetic Bliss. When Light of Bliss is activated, recovers 0.6 rage, but can get to 1.2% rage for all allies in the range every 1 second. It lasts for 20 seconds, okay? Fantastic rage booster, instrumental to so many teams. All right, those are my top 5 healers. Here we go, guys. Let's end strong with mages. And I feel like the most obvious is Vierna. I think the Vierna, for me, is my favorite mage in the game. She just does so much damage. I mean, what else do you want, If you have a Vierna and you have every other mage and you run them in the same position and kind of compare their damage, it's hard to see anybody out damaging her. Mortal Kiss is AoE damage equal to 25% of the caster's attack to the effect bearer and the surrounding enemies every second for 8 seconds. Well, that's cool. That's on her basic attack. Well, that's freaking amazing. And then Reaper's Grasp, 700% AoE damage to enemies in range, kills enemies with HP below 25%, but we can skill it up to 35% after a short delay. Elite monsters and bosses are excluded. We can't execute bosses, even though that'd be pretty fun. She does a lot more as well. She has a bone shield as well, but really she's about that raw, unbelievable damage between the Mortal Kiss and the Reaper's Grasp. This is where things get tricky. Again, mages are pretty stacked. There's some really good epic mages. There's a lot of insanely good legendary mages, including Comet. Comet is Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen. They're coming to the game soon. Reminds me of that Die Hard. By the way, best Christmas movie, that Die Hard line of, now I've got the machine gun. Ho, ho, ho. Little Hans Gruber for you. You didn't think you were gonna get that in today's video, did you? It's a little treat for you guys who stuck around to the end of the video. Comet is continuous damage execution. Obliteration, I always struggle, ever since I was a little kid, I struggled reading this word the first time. Obliteration strike deals 400% extra high damage to enemies who have not been attacked. That's pretty cool. Attacks deal 100% magic damage to two enemies on his basic, and then the 320% AoE damage lasting for a whopping 15 or 20 seconds. That's a long ultimate for continuous damage, for a mage, for a burst. I mean, well, it's not burst, but it feels kind of bursty, you know? The AoE, the number might not blow you away, but the duration mixed with the number certainly does. He also has Curse, unable to perform basic attacks for 2 seconds. So really kind of nice addition to his kit. When killing a target, his attack will bounce to other enemies. More kind of AoE potential. Definitely one of the top AoE mages in the game, or AoE in general in the game. Now things are going to continue to get tricky here. I'm going to go with Morrigan. Now I went with Morrigan over Pyros. Pyros is so good, but he's it was a tough one. It was a tough one, but more on that in a moment. More on Pyros in a moment. But Morrigan's great. First of all, I was told that Morrigan was good just for the Lord skill, basically. Basically use her with a Virna and get 30% extra damage on targets with stun, freeze, control, blah, blah. And then the AoE damage increase by 25% is insanely good. Don't even play her, don't even worry about it. But I have to say, she does very good damage on her own right as well. I'm sure a lot of it has to do with my build, and I'm not comparing her because I know everybody in the comments are gonna be like, dude, no way, Comet's so much better. For me, with fairly similar gear, her and Comet do around the same damage for me in like a gear raid 1 situation. Anyway, she has damage to 3 targets, and then she has his cursed bombs, 3 targets in range. They basically they explode after they end doing AoE damage, and then her kit really revolves around getting more out of these cursed bombs. Pretty dang cool and unique legendary, but really the Lord skill is the highlight of her use case, and this is why she's most wanted, but she's really good in her own right as well. All right, so next up, guys, let's just talk about him right now. It's Twin Fiend. Twin Fiend is just basically a beefed up version of Pyros, so that's why I don't have Pyros on the list, right? Twin Fiend is insane. I mean, the best guild boss lord in the game. I don't think I'm going out too far on a limb on saying that. Just a really capable mage in his own right on top of being a lord. I don't have him. Do any of you guys? Let me know if you agree with my assessment. He has the great lord skill where he when he casts his meteoric strike, which gives the focus fire, right? Man, he's doing a lot. Focus fire, stun, burning, damage, yada, yada, yada. He does. All faction allies gain penetration increase, ignore defense, essentially, and magic resistance by 30%. Crit rate plus 20%. Crit damage plus 30% for 10 seconds. Synergizes beautifully with the shield, or the shield going down, of the guild boss. But really, his entire kit is really strong, reasonable cost, probably up there with one of the most, I would say, I don't know, he's up there with one of the most wanted and sought after lords in the game by yours truly as well. All right, last on our entire list, guys. This was tough, man. There's some good ones out there, not Durza. I'm just looking around, I really like Zealous. I really like Lasir. I love Venoma. You know what? Kree is kind of cool too, but she's not close to making the list, but she's kind of cool too. Sokoldans, it's really cool. He's different. He's another Infernal Lord, but he's quite different than Twin Fiend and Pyros with the focus fire, how that kind of works. Shout out as well to Nocturne. Really cool champ as well. I'm gonna give it to Ajax. Yeah, that's right. The big dragon, or the dude on the dragon. I think that's Ajax, right? I've asked before. It's not the dragon, right? That's just his pet dragon. The downside to this dude is his cost, 26. And how hard he is to get, being unnamed. He fits in any faction, which is cool. But he's got this beast mode range. He's got burning on basic attack. He's got AoE damage on basic attack. He's got AoE damage and more burning on his ultimate, and just with that range plus that damage plus burning and the magic reduction, he's got the debuffs. When any enemy approaches within 2 tiles of this hero, inflicts magic resistance or reduction by 10%. So it's not the best debuff in the game, but it just adds, you know, another just great thing to have on top of an already incredibly robust kit. So I give it to Ajax. There it is, guys. That's it. That's all I got for you. Those are my top 25 heroes in the game. Who did I snub? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching until the end of the video, guys. And as always, take care.